Today we shall talk about Netheril, the greatest human empire in the history of Faerûn. It was founded 4,000 years before Dale Reckoning, and its power can still be seen today. The Netherese were great dreamers, and modern empires today are still humbled by their achievements. Our story begins near the High Ice in northern Anirok, 5,000 years in the past. Here we will find a small collection of barbarian tribes near the shores of the Narrow Sea. Fenwick, Gears, Gillian, Gustav, Moran, Nusef, Yannick. Together these villages form the Alliance of Seventon. Their leader, Nefer the Elder, was corrupted by power and destroyed the Council of Seventon. In its place he created the Kingdom of Netheril. The Poison Blade later and Nefer the Elder was gone. His son, Nefer the Younger, took over control. His son was a wise leader and refocused on growth and trade. Not long after, diplomats from Alan came to Netheril and relationships between humans and elves began. And the most valuable exchange for the Netherese was the knowledge of arcane magic. A century of trade between the humans and the elves bloomed, and the Netherese took to arcane magic with a passion. All Netherese are now tested and started training magic at 13. Anyone found with ability are taught more than those without, but every Netherese was taught the arcane until reaching adulthood. The importance they placed on magic is believed to be the reason why this small tribe grew up to be the most powerful nation ever to exist on Toril. 200 years after the founding of Netheril, we saw the first major orc uprising in the north. Arlan and Elfarm banded together to deal with this crisis, and Netheril, as well as the Rengarth barbarians, pledged assistance to the emergency. This orc invasion will be the first of many, and Netheril's culture will be tainted by the impact of this undying war. 20 years the war with the orcs raged on, and while the Netherese and the Rengarth never saw their full force, they still encountered marauding bands that ended up in the territories. After the war, the Netherese absorbed the Rengarth lands into their kingdom, while leaving the barbarians much to themselves. The Netherese are now allowed to trade and travel in the Rengarth territories. In the year 326, the most important event in human magical history took place. Netherese explorers in the Elven ruins of Aragondar found 100 scrolls explaining to them the nature of magic. They named these scrolls the Nether Scrolls. The discovery of the Nether Scrolls started a new age for Netheril. They rejected the Elven magic and refocused everything on these new artifacts. Erlan disliked this new path for the Netherese and cut off all relations. Using the Nether Scrolls, humans increased their magical practice. They quickly surpassed what elves taught them and discovered new magic once assumed impossible. We need to step aside and explain why Netheril marked their history based on the birth of their greatest arcanist. Think of this as a mage emperor or kings. It was the mages who wrote this history, so their heroes get center stage. The first of these arcanists are born in the year 364. His name, Hognew Ion. Ion created the Ion Stones, one of the most useful magical items of the new Netherese. These stones would allow you to gain abilities that could help you in your day-to-day life. Some allowed you to see in pure darkness, others improved natural abilities. Constant innovation was found for these stones. The dwarves of Delzun were discovered around the year 400, and trade talks started. It took years before each nation learned what the other wanted to trade, but after cultural and language barriers were broken down, the Low Road, a safe Underdark highway, was created for trade connections between Delzun and Netheril. In the year 544, another great arcanist is born, Yolam, destined to be the greatest mage Faerûn has ever seen. Yolam feats were many, and in the year 1714 he led a campaign called the Excursion into Extinction on orcs that had prevented Netheril expansion. His campaign was long and hard, and along with his army of only 50,000 he managed to kill 140,000 orcs before ending his crusade. This was the largest extermination of orcs in recorded history, as well as a statement to the elves on how it should be done and what Netheril was able to do. In 764 a great tragedy occurred. A complete set of Nether Scrolls were stolen from Yolam and the Netherese, despite significant effort to protect them. They were stolen without anyone's notice. To this day, we don't know how the Cormantian elves managed to do this. In 845, Yolam once again proved his power by creating the Mythaller, a device that dug deep into the weave and gave access to raw, unfiltered magic. Before the Mythaller, powering magical items would drain the mage. With the Mythaller, magic could work independently from the wizard and with much greater power. 20 years later, Yolam showed Netheril the ultimate usage of the Mythaller. Using one of the rampart peaks and combining it with the power of the Mythfolor, Yolen was able to create the first floating city of Zinlanal. The Enclave was the true start of what we know as Netheril. Making an Enclave was the height of power. Only the most powerful Arcanists could create one, and everyone now had a goal to stretch for. The start of the Silver Age is the start of the Netherese expansion for resources. With the Orcs dead and a new Enclave floating up in the air once or twice a decade, there was no stopping Netherese power. Erlan now started to view the Netherese as an adversary, banding together with Cormantur and Elfarn to keep a closer eye on the humans. When the Silver Age ended, Netheril had grown their borders and captured enough territories that it could start growing internally. Now comes the time for greater discovery and expansion into other areas than Faerûn.